Hi and welcome to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast for athletes, coaches and professionals who want to achieve their goals faster. I'm David Charlton and I'll be sharing proven methods from leading athletes, coaches and experts that will help you get the most from your talent. Today's show is sponsored by Functional Intelligent Training, who are a sports injury clinic located in Gloucester near Newcastle upon Tyne and specialise in athlete development, nurturing future champions, strength and conditioning support and excellent rehabilitation services. Hi Taz, I'm delighted to have you on the show today. Would you be able to introduce yourself to the listeners who don't know anything about you?
Yeah, so my name's Taz Bricknell and I'm a current women's rugby player for Worcester Warriors women.
And do you want to share with the listeners your background as well into rugby, how long you've been playing the sport and how it's all evolved?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't really have a lot of choice, to be honest. Both my parents are big rugby people, especially my dad. But I was actually 4 when I started playing rugby. And as I say, I was pretty much born into it. I had England baby grows on before I was 1 year old, sitting watching the rugby with my dad on the sofa. So yeah, I never really had a choice, but just so happened that I absolutely fell in love with the sport and have just carried on. So I think I've been playing 18, 19 years now. So I started off at Sheppey RFC, which is my local club down in Kent, where my parents are from. Played with the boys until I was 12. Absolutely loved being one of the only girls on the team. The boys you'd play against would think, oh, it's a girl, let's run at her. And then you could flatten them and they'd be like, oh, maybe not. She's actually one of the best tacklers on the team. So I absolutely loved that, having the little underdog title, I suppose. And then, I kind of moved on to women's or girls rugby when I had to at the age of 12. Started at Alsford, finished that at the girls' pathway at Medway. And then I actually ventured up to Hartpury College for college and uni and absolutely loved it up there. Such an elite kind of program and environment that I was in. So it was like a perfect stepping stone for kind of where I am today. Yeah. And then, as I said, currently playing rugby for Worcester Warriors women and working there as well for the community department. So I get to go into schools, out into the local community and coach and share my knowledge that way as well. And I just absolutely love being able to inspire the next generation and get my knowledge out there and help where I can.
Sounds fantastic. Can you tell me a little bit more about the underdog tag and where you talked about the bit with the boys there and the mindset? Because obviously not everybody will have that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 5'2", fully grown, and I think people tend to kind of look at me sometimes and think that I'm a bit short, maybe a weaker link. Especially when I played with the boys, it was always that stereotype of, oh, she's a girl, she can't be any good at rugby. Let's attack her and run at her. She must be the team's weakness. And obviously, I've always kind of thrived on that, because if they feel that's the case, what do I have to lose? I don't have anything. They're the one putting pressure on themselves. So that's when I would just kind of really attack that. And as I said with the boys, I think the boys on my team absolutely loved it, because then they wouldn't run at me again and they just kind of used to laugh at the lads that would try. I just kind of always tried to focus on not really listening to what people have to say about me and proving what I am and what I'm worth on the pitch rather than speaking up, I suppose.
Your self-talk there must be, like you say, where you've talked about trying to, I suppose, prove to other people and to prove to yourself, whereas some people's would be maybe more negative and they would worry and be a little bit anxious. You must be, quite a positive person in general, are you?
Yeah, I try to remain quite positive. I kind of try and focus on when I'm playing, especially now, I play for the younger generation watching. I play for my team, my family, and obviously myself, because I enjoy and love the sport. So I'm the kind of person that will put like 100% into everything, training, games, everything that I do, because I just have that love and that passion for the sport that I play. I think it is important for people to kind of not listen to what outsiders have to say and really focus on yourself, focus on your teammates, and focus on doing what you love.
Which is going to bring us on nicely to talking about the current situation and COVID, because I can imagine the motivation, the passions, is it flipped and changed at times?
Yes, it has. Obviously, when COVID first came around last March, we were still playing rugby. And it literally went from 1 week we had a game on the Sunday, and by Thursday we were in lockdown. So we had training cancelled on the Tuesday. And then luckily I ended up going home to my family home just before we were in lockdown so I could be there. And yeah, to start with, it was obviously really sunny outside. So all the motivation in the world to get outside. My mum was so helpful with that. My dad even came and did running sessions with me, and my family's such a rugby orientated one. Like I had my brother chucking a rugby ball around with me in the garden, doing boxing workouts and things. So I was really, really fortunate with that and lucky to have that support. So yeah, and as Worcester Warriors, we actually did a event where we ran 100 miles in a month to just kind of get up and active and to kind of encourage the community to join us and get active and stay motivated. And that was really good fun. And I was really good at running then. And then obviously coming back into season, that's not something you can do. So I've kind of lost that a little bit, gone back to not really loving the running anymore. But yeah, the second and the third lockdown, I found quite challenging because obviously the things of like the weather change, being away from my family. I'm loving being back in the rugby environment and still being able to play. And we're in a really privileged position for that. I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, especially with the league being postponed as well for the last 2 weeks, it's been quite hard to keep motivated whilst being stuck at home. And me and the housemate I live with, we actually both play. So that's a little bit easier. We can kind of motivate each other to train and give each other that extra kick if we need it. But yeah, we've got some teammates that are kind of students, so are in their student house all day, every day. And yeah, I think it's been a bit harder this time around, but hopefully the end is near sight.
Yeah, with a bit of luck, obviously. And it sounds like from what you were saying that group camaraderie and like sense of belonging, if you like, has been a big help, like in the previous lockdowns, and it's sort of social support now is a big help for you too.
Yes, 100%. I need sometimes that little bit of encouragement from others, especially like, as I said, with my mum beforehand, she used to come and do all of my running sessions, bike sessions, gym sessions with me. So I always had that training buddy, I suppose. I think it's hard when you're in a team sport and that team environment all the time to then suddenly go to feel like you're competing for yourself or like you're by yourself having to train. And yeah, it's definitely that team ethos that we have, especially at Warriors. I've never been at a club or anything like it. You can walk into the room and everyone will speak to you, encourage you, say hello, and it's just a really lovely place to be. So I think being taken out of that's really affected a few of us. So yeah, really, really looking forward to getting back into that, to be honest.
Yeah, and then obviously the competitive side as well. You'll want to get into competing on a regular basis too. I'm sure that fires you up.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We've been quite unfortunate. Every time we seem to get either a winning streak going or a few good games, we go back into lockdown and we can't play again. And then it's just having to pick ourselves up and start over. So yeah, I think it would be brilliant to get back into playing. I think a few of us are really itching to put our boots on and play again. But as I said, we're in a really privileged place to be able to do that at the minute, because I know a lot of people, sports people in general that are in lockdown that play a variety of sport have not played or trained properly for 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe even a year now because of COVID. So it is something that has kind of affected sport and people's mental health, I suppose. Yeah,
hugely. Do you think your positivity, do you think that's helped you get through the process?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, I try to remain as positive as I can. And throughout the first lockdown, we had to put all of our workouts on our Instagram stories and tag our S&C and tag our club, because we tried to really keep pushing the media. And I had a lot of positive encouragement come back from people that I hadn't heard from in years, just saying that I was keeping them motivated to want to actually do things. So I think if I can share that little bit of positivity with people around me and I don't know, almost encourage someone to get out of the house and go for a walk or to do a workout and to stay motivated and to stay out of such a dark space. And obviously that's something I'll continue to do.
That's true. It's good to actually hear you talk about the positive side of social media as well, because let's be honest, generally the negative side's the thing that comes out of it in lots of conversations, which leads us on as well to talking about one of the first things you mentioned about being a girl playing with boys initially. How do you find being a like a woman playing sport? Do you find that there is negativity that comes with that at all?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think if you look at women's sport to where it was a few years ago, it's definitely grown. And there are things like in rugby and in football that you have those professional athletes now. So like with rugby, all of the women that play for England that are contracted, like that's their job. And that's an amazing step from where we were a few years ago. Obviously, I think the sport is still growing and developing. So I don't think anytime soon we'll have like professional contracts for clubs like the men do. But as I said, like some clubs now are getting match fees, things like that. So the sports are developing and growing. But yeah, it is hard. And I think any female athlete will agree that we do struggle with having to find a routine, a schedule, because obviously when you look at the likes of men rugby players, they are full-time athletes. That's their job. They train all day, every day. They play, and it's amazing. Obviously, that's what we want. That's what we want to kind of aspire to be. But with women's sports, obviously, it is semi-pro, or even still in some countries amateur. So people like myself are having to juggle a full-time job, a career, even a university degree, whilst playing a sport which is pretty much full-time. And I do think that that's really hard and something that people don't take into consideration when they think about women's sports. And I think we've had a lot of trolling on social media, a lot of bullying, a lot of negativity that came out. There's been a few campaigns. There's been an I Am Enough one and an I Care. That I have absolutely taken the women's sporting industry forward. We've had support, not just in rugby, but in every single sport. And I think that's really nice because it brings that kind of like female athlete together. And it's not just from your elite levels of sport, it's from your grassroots sports, people that maybe be exporting people, but it really does bring those people together. And it's nice to see that we have that support in such a down kind of, yeah.
When you talk there about trying to mix like working life as well as training and playing sport, what does a general week look like to you in normal circumstances?
Yeah, so in normal, I would work 8 to 5 Monday to Friday. On a Monday evening, I would have gym and skills. So that would start around 5:30 till 8ish, 7:30, 8ish. Again, on Tuesday, that would usually start. We can get to the gym for half 4 and we would finish around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Wednesdays, we usually have the day off, so it's away from the club. However, we do have an off-feet conditioning that we have to complete. So that would be Wednesday evening. Thursday, we're back in at the club again from 4:30 till around 8:30, 9 o'clock for our training. Friday is usually, again, another off day, so we wouldn't be in the club that day. But it is a day for us to prepare for our games, obviously the following day. So it'll be things like yoga sessions, an off-feet session if you need it. Little bits and bobs like that, really. And then Saturday's obviously your game day, and then Sunday's recovery. So yeah, it is quite hard, obviously, with how to like rugby and work. And with my work being rugby orientated, my life is just rugby, and that is something that I struggle with sometimes. It is hard, and I think people don't appreciate that. The amount of sacrifices that we have to make, things like friends' birthday parties that we have to miss, family occasions that we have to miss, weddings, anything that falls on a Saturday during season we can't make, anything that's weekly in the evenings we can't make because of training. And it like sometimes I even work a Sunday as well, so a Sunday morning, because as I said, I work in the community, so most youth rugby is a Sunday morning. So if I have to go in and do a coaching session, and that'll be my Sunday as well, which then means I don't really have a day off. When in the long run of things, it's always go, which is very hard to kind of then know which week is what, and it just kind of rolls into one long week rather than being 4 in a month. But yeah, that is something that female athletes do have to take into consideration.
Yeah, amazing. That is really, I mean, how many hours obviously that you're putting into that? It doesn't leave much time for you to rest and recover as well.
No, it doesn't, not at all. Especially when, like, my housemate is a trainee teacher at the minute, so she gets up every morning at 6:30 to go to work, and then obviously some nights could be up till 9:30, 10 o'clock before we get home from training. And then it's obviously we are in a really good position at Worcester where we do get fed after training, so we don't ever have to come home and cook dinner. But there are still clubs out there that you would have to come home, cook dinner, have a shower, then go to bed, and you're not going to bed till 11:30, and then you've got to get up at 6 a.m. the next day. It's not ideal.
Definitely, after you've been on your feet all day as well, and as well as the training. I interviewed Ali Dixon, the marathon runner, a few weeks ago, and she talked about how she quit her job when she was in her mid-30s to go full time as an athlete, and how big a difference that actually made then to her performances was amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's hope you're in a similar position in the not too distant future.
Yeah, hopefully that would be amazing, honestly. And I think, as you said, it would really drive the sport forward, I think, because as you say, like, we have a lot of trolling on social media, and it is usually from males that say they don't care about the sport or the men's better. But if you flip that on its head, men are full-time athletes, and that is their job. They get paid to train, to play, to gym. If we were able to do that as well, then we would be maybe on par with them. But at the moment, you have to kind of take it as the male and the female. Yes, we're both playing rugby, but they are very different games. They're different. They're differently run. They're differently structured. Especially with COVID, with the rules changed at the minute, we have adaptations in our game that the men's don't in theirs. So they are looking very different at the minute. But yeah, having to juggle everything on top of that is extremely hard. And I think sometimes you're not going to realise that until you're put in that position. So I think it's very easy to sit the other side of a keyboard and make a comment on a post, but I think people need to actually think about what they're saying before they say it, and how that's going to affect the athlete that's actually in that position.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, there's a person at the other side of the keyboard, isn't there? A human being who's, and in your case, you're doing 70, 80 hours, if you like, with your full-time job, then your training and everything else into the mix, which takes up a hell of a lot of time, energy, and emotion. So yeah, certainly hats off to you from my side.
Thank you.
From all the listeners, what if you were to think of 3 takeaways from the conversation that we're having, what would they be?
I'd probably say my first one would be more COVID related. I know it's easy to kind of get yourself in a negative mood to get down. I'd probably say try and get out the house at least once a day, whether that'll be a walk, a run, a cycle. Try and get out of the house, because it's easy to sit on the sofa all day, every day, and do nothing and get yourself into a bit of a rut. So try and get out, get some fresh air, whether that be go to the shops or I don't know, just try and get yourself outside once a day. It really does do wonders for the mental health, and to make you feel like you've actually left your house in the week, rather than just sit inside and not really do anything.
I'd agree with that. Currently at the moment, like you say, we're in lockdown 3, and there's probably about 8 hours, maybe a little bit more of daylight. Mm-hmm. So especially if you can go outside during daylight, it makes a huge difference to the way you feel about yourself and your well-being, no doubt about it. And a little bit of exercise, increasing your heart rate and what have you, you just feel an awful lot better, don't you? Feel more alive.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, it's very easy to get in your head. So just do it. Is definitely got to be the motto there.
Yeah, well, I know it's a lot easier said than done, because I've personally had days where I haven't left the house and you don't realise, and then it comes to you going outside and you're like, oh, this is the first time I've left the house in 3 days. And that you can easily get yourself into a little rut. But I think if you're living with somebody, to be able to do something like that together is a lot easier, because then you're going out for a walk together and you have someone to do that with. If you don't want to go, they can kind of pull you outside. But yeah, I think it's more challenging when you are there isolating on your own. So yeah, I would suggest just kind of pick yourself up and try and get yourself outside, go and explore new places, whether that be you drive to a country park and you go and explore new things and appreciate the outdoors. Yeah, it's cold, but grab a hat and a coat, like go have some fun. Change of scenery, really.
Yeah, there's something in that definitely about having fun into the mix.
Yeah.
So much negativity out there, isn't there? When you if you look at the news and everything else.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think it's hard at the minute, isn't it? Because the cases are rising, things are getting worse. And as you say, that's all that they kind of spread over the media. So it is very down and gloomy. But yeah, it is hard. And it's kind of hard to kind of stay motivated and stay happy in these times, because like no one has any idea what's going on, when it's going to be over, when they can see their families again. But yeah, even if it is a case of you can't get yourself outside, maybe Zoom call or FaceTime a loved one, a friend, speak to people around you, make sure you're not completely by yourself and isolating yourself 24/7. It's really important to kind of keep in contact with people around you.
So we've got it's about the leaving the house, the potentially with exercise. Number 2 there is about the social side and keeping in touch with other people. What about number 3 for people?
I'd say number 3, I would probably focus on younger athletes or younger children or people that are aspiring to be these professional athletes. I would say keep working hard, try and keep motivated during lockdown. As we said earlier, like exercise releases endorphins that'll make you feel better once you've done it, which took me a long time to realise when I was in my little episode of I don't want to leave the house. But it does make you feel better, especially when you have people around you to give you that extra push. But yeah, try and concentrate on what you're doing, what you love. There's always going to be someone there behind you to put you down, but it's whether or not you listen to them, whether or not you let their words put you down, or whether you take them on the chin and think, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. Kind of try and use that negativity as motivation to keep going and keep doing what you love, because there's always going to be someone younger aspiring to be where you are.
It's a nice way to finish. That is to, like you say, focus on the positives and to not get distracted by the noise, by other people and different factors. So I suppose what brought us together on this show was an introduction via the Sports Business Club. Would you like just to tell the listeners a little bit about that and your role?
Yeah, I would love to. So the Sports Business Club is a organisation that I am an ambassador for. They look to work with businesses, whether they be big or small, to kind of get them in a network, so they can kind of provide business for each other and work together. And with doing so, they have to pay a fee to be part of the business, and that fee will then get passed down to all grassroots sports. So they like to provide local grassroots clubs, whether that be football, rugby, tennis, cricket, hockey, whichever, with money and finances that they can use, whether that be for equipment or for things like children's fees for the year. They're really trying to help and grow their business and their organisation to be able to help people that might not be able to afford their child to play the sport, but they want to play, or provide the sport with new equipment so that the children can play, new pitches, facilities. And yeah, it's just an amazing organisation that's really trying to spread the word of sport and look for different ways of how that they can support it.
Yeah, one of the things I've been impressed by is obviously at the moment, not just sport, but certainly there's a lot of financial problems in organisations, but we're talking about the topic of sport, certainly grassroots and local sport. There's big implications, isn't there, with COVID, where there's question marks over the future of quite a lot of clubs. So certainly what the Sports Business Club are doing is it's amazing. I think from the whole, when you talk about facilities to coaching to like mental health as well, it's top class.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And I think it's almost one of those that if you reflect back on where I've come from, if I had that support at a younger age, then I probably would have developed a lot earlier. Things like clubs are always looking for physios and coaches that can go and do like CPD courses to kind of, you always have the coaches that are volunteering as their parents and things like that. And it's amazing what they're doing, but perhaps they've never even heard of the sport before, and they're kind of learning as they go. So it's amazing to be able to provide that kind of coaching for their development as well, which then develops the children underneath them. And as you say, yeah, with the mental health side of things, they really do strive on, can't think of the word, psychology, to get people into clubs to be able to do group sessions, individual sessions with anyone at the club that might need it. And as I said, it's all funded through the actual organisation, and it's just an amazing thing that I'm a part of. And yeah, really looking to kind of help where I can and grow the name of that where I can, and hopefully it will help some children along the way.
Yeah, without doubt. And yeah, it'll be fascinating to see how it all develops through 2021. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it works. So yeah, a big thank you for your time today. I've really enjoyed the chat, and you've shared some great bits of advice there for the listeners. Whereabouts can people find you on social media should they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so firstly, I just want to say thank you very much for having me. It was really nice for you reaching out, and I've loved being on here, so thank you. Social media wise, I have Instagram. So yeah, just Taz Bricknell or the Tasmanian Devil on Instagram if anyone wants to find me or follow me. Apart from that, I'm on Twitter as well. But yeah, that's probably the main two for me.
Excellent. I will include those in the show notes. So you never know, you might get a few people reaching out to you.
Maybe.
For some advice or for a chat or something like that.
Yeah, that's fine. I've always been one to think my doors are always open. So if anyone wanted to talk about absolutely anything, I'm always open to that. I want to help people where I can and spread the positivity where I can too. So if anyone does need anything, just pop up, DM, message me. I'm always there.
Brilliant. I love that positivity, and yeah, a big thank you again.
No, thank you very much for having me.
I'd like to give a big thanks to today's sponsors, Functional Intelligent Training, who are a sports injury clinic located in Gloucester, near Newcastle upon Tyne, and specialise in athlete development, nurturing future champions, strength and conditioning support, and excellent rehabilitation services. Thank you for listening to Demystifying Mental Toughness today. To sign up for tips and advice to help you be the best that you can be, go to www.sport-excellence.co.uk and sign up to the Mental Edge newsletter.